Carissa Des,
And my name's Hiram.
My
and
name is Ryan.
this is based with Des and Hiram, where we talk about controversial topics and stigmatized topics as well. Today we will be talking about the adult film industry, and our friend Ryan here has been. How long have you been working in the industry?
Roughly about 8 years now.
Oh wow, oh wow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
did
It's
you?
been a little bit of a journey. So I wouldn't say it's that all started in the same spot, but definitely 8 years running.
And how did it start? Were you just like, "Hey, I'm going to be a porn star," or did you start off doing something else first and then decide that, or?
I was actually doing makeup in movies and like TV shows and independent films. So I was behind the camera at first, and then I started modeling makeups for people and photographers, and then it just became kind of an amalgamation of being a model and being there for photographers and getting their portfolios out there, and then just word of mouth kind of kept going. Did nude photography, and you kind of just go into that area where people, they ask, what are you comfortable with, what are you not comfortable with, what they're looking for, and then you kind of get a little bit more work if you kind of open up your horizons and give
Yeah.
them a little bit more. So yeah, definitely. It started off in more of a modeling realm and just kind of went multiple directions, and it's kind of all kind of stays the same, but you find a lot more people, eventually, a lot of different career paths just based off that.
Yeah. So, somebody was just like, so you said the word amalgamation, and I like big words. What does that mean?
So it kind of just
I've been
a,
wanting to
you
ask that the
know,
whole time. Kind of like
it's
a
pretty
blend
much
of
like
everything.
a grab bag.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like you a little section of this, a little section of that, this kind of medium, this kind of genre, and you just kind of sometimes you wear different hats. You definitely play different roles, and you just whatever you're good at, you get seen for it. And if you're not good at it, or if they don't need you back for something like that, then they might have other things for you to do and other things for you to create with. So you kind of it never feels like the same thing twice, even though the genre or the medium could be the same as the time before. So it really does move around a lot.
Yeah. Um, so is somebody one day like, wow, you do makeup really great, but you're also like, good looking, or we feel like you would be good for this part, or was it like you showed interest and they were like, yeah, we
It's a little bit of both. I showed interest because they were asking for models, and I was like, it is hard to find models unless you're like gonna hire them, or they might back out. And it was hard being a makeup artist and finding people to model the makeup. So other makeup
Mhm.
artists that I was friends with, I'd go, you know what, I need someone to do makeup on. You need someone to do makeup on. I'll model it just as much as I'll do the makeup. And then they would get their photography, and they'd get their shots and their portfolio pieces, and I'd get questions, or I'd get inquiries about like, hey, who modeled for you for that makeup? And some of it was, special effects makeup, but some of it was just high fashion. And at some point it would be like shirtless, and you get like some other people a little bit more interested in like, well, since it's makeup, let's do body makeup, let's do this, let's do that, let's get you in a studio. And I just didn't say no to a lot of it because it was all very interesting to me. And I never thought about being in front of the camera at first, but once I did, it became very comfortable and almost more interesting to me than the makeup itself. And then it goes that direction where they're like, well, you're great on photography. Have you ever thought of working with female models, or have you worked in video at all? I have some work that I definitely need to get done, and I would love to have someone like you or someone that looks like you work with these people. And I kind of questioned it at first because wasn't a realm that I wanted to go down in my mind, but then it just became way more comfortable once I said yes to the first thing. And everyone was, there's a taboo that it might be uncomfortable or crazy, or it's just a wild west of things. But
yeah.
I don't think that it feels like that, or it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels way more like, a regular job, like a 9 to 5. So when I had the work, it really felt like I was doing any other job, really. There's just little aspects of it that obviously are very specific to being nude or, sexual work. So,
Hmm.
you have to take that with a grain of salt that that's definitely a part of it. But the rest of it feels like real work and you're creating. So
Yeah.
to me, it's art.
Yeah, and you said that you they had a hard time finding models, like people to
Well,
even model makeup. I'm like, hey,
well,
I'm
so,
always
yeah, I
here if
mean, it's
anybody
not
needs anybody
hard.
to model makeup.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard, but it's, when people are really trying to create art and get their name out there, but not, break the bank. Some people want to do it in a way where they're not spending tons of money to get their name out there, the photography or their makeup. So having a friend in the industry or having people that are a little bit more open minded and haven't done the work, and kind of bring them into the fold. And you pay your dues and all that. Where you start off not doing very much pay, or you do something for another job, or if you do this, the next job that comes is definitely going to pay well. So you have to kind of take it one direction to get it to go another direction. You have to be open minded to many different directions for that reason alone,
Yeah, and
that
I
you really don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's true with life in general, like
True.
opportunities, because I personally have like lately, within reason, I'll do almost any kind of job that people throw at me. Like someone's like, "Hey, do you want to come and work the door for this thing?" And I'm like, "Well, how much are you paying me?" Of course, but
Yeah.
but I've just been like more open to things, and when I've done that, I've had more doors open because I meet somebody at this event and it just feels like not everybody believes in the universe making things happen, but I do. And
Yeah.
like when a door opens, I meet somebody and then they're like, hey, do you want to do this other job that pays more money, like come work for me at my business and do this or that. So I think that like pertains to life and to
Yeah.
work life in
I,
general.
I would definitely say the one thing that I've taken away from working behind the camera, in front of the camera, and using the camera myself is the fact that the main thing that you want to bring to artistry or the industry at all, movie or adult, is that you are open minded, willing to work, and bring a good work ethic with you, positive energy. It's more than anything else. Talent is definitely a part of it, but it is not, it's never been the main part. People love to work with other people that have similar goals and have similar mindsets and personality types, where everyone gets along and gets the work done. The other stuff can come with it, but it's not necessarily always the thing you need first. Is the talent. The talent can come from experience, and it can come through time. But if you're just coming with a bad energy or with no work ethic, you're not going to make it in almost any industry, regardless of the entertainment industry. So I feel like, yeah, it pertains to life. The better you bring a better energy to your life, the more doors get open and the more opportunities get presented.
Ryan, you mentioned that like it really at some point kind of takes a special kind of person to take the risk that it I mean opening you said like kind of opening more doors or being open to taking more risks.
Mm-hmm.
Could you maybe like explain what that's like what kind of bravery does it take to be successful, or what kind of risks are you taking to, continue to build your career?
I will say that personally for me, and I definitely don't speak for everyone, but for me, uh, it wasn't a simple yes or no at the beginning. It was definitely a lot of internal thinking and maybe even a little bit of struggle of, is this right for me? Is this even what I want to do? Am I going a direction I don't want to? But the bravery, it's really more so, do you care about yourself more than you care about other people's opinions of who you are? And what will you find out if you go through that door or go down that path? Are you going in it with good intentions, real intentions, and an open mind, or are you going down it with like fear and you know, things that people have ingrained in your brain over time, or society gives you an opinion and you take their opinion over your own? And the thing I had to get past was, I whether I'm comfortable or not, is it something that interests me, and is it something that makes me feel like I might grow or I might evolve or I might learn. And I could have done this for 6 months and gone, it's not for me, but I learned something, or it's not for me, but I at least I did it for the experience, and now I can say it's under my belt. I did that and I felt that it just kept going, and it just felt every time I met people and I was enjoying their company and I was having fun, I having laughs. I love the work at the end. I love to see like photography and videos edited from certain artistic points of view,
Yeah.
what it turned into. And not everything was the same. Some of it was a little bit more edgy, and the other stuff was a little bit more soft and cute, and other stuff was way more specifically genred for a type of look. And every time it feels different, you meet different people, and most of the time it's a great experience. And sometimes it's just really fun. It's fun not just for the obvious reasons, but it's fun to meet new people and get to know them, and see why they're in it and how they got in it, and to see the taboos being torn down, maybe one step at a time as well.
Yeah. And I feel like, and I don't know for sure how you feel about this, but I think you talked a little bit about it. I think that, um, like going into this, like a career like this, into this field of work, if you come in and you're like scared and you're not really enjoying it, but you're just doing it for the money and you feel like guilt from doing it, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
you probably won't create great content.
Yeah, it doesn't translate. You really have to put yourself out there in every way that you think possible, and even ways that you haven't thought possible. It kind of sounds really grandiose and large in one way or another, but it really is. Like you said, in life, it feels like that in this industry. The more you feel comfortable and enjoyment and wanting to create, it translates. Like your
Hmm.
face looks different, your personality shines through. You can translate a lot through the the energy that you're putting through. And if you have a fear of it, and that's totally fine, like it's not for everybody, it really isn't. And but it won't translate, and people will not want you back, not because your personality isn't right, but because it's an art at the end of the day. It really is. You're creating entertainment for the masses or for a certain group, and they want to experience, just like going to the movies. You want most of the audience to enjoy it. You want that art to translate. And the same for this. You want most of your audience to enjoy what you created. And if it's not working, why would anyone want to kind of bring you back if you're not right for it?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hiram, do you have anything on that?
No, I mean that I think that was a really good answer. I mean, I it that is really important to make sure that you're somewhere you can grow and somewhere you're comfortable and everything. Um, are there any what are well, one question I had as you were talking was uh regarding maybe some kind of lesson you've learned being in the industry, something that has made you wiser or that's given you that next level of ability to navigate your work, your work ethic and everything you're experiencing as you're growing in that field. Does
I
that make
will say a
sense?
lot. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it definitely does. I would say that things that I've learned for sure over time, and you learn this almost in any part of the entertainment industry, is an appreciation for other people, appreciation for the work that they put in. Not everybody knows like how that person, like the sound person or the videographer or the director or the other models or the other performers. It's good to really feel empathy and look at where they're coming from and why they're doing it. Because I would say I was raised really close to respecting and always being like empathetic to other people and their struggles, and walking a mile in their shoes before judging them. But going into this industry knowing that there's that that taboo and that little dark cloud that kind of hangs over it, and it's been that way probably ever since the dawn of adult industry. But being able to respect the people that you work with and know what they're going through at the same time, because I've worked with a lot of female performers that I would say run the gambit between they seem shy or they seem worried or they have the confidence that knocks down the door. It's all of those things, and being able to respect yourself and other people at the end of the day after you've done something that the public may have an outrage for or have a huge respect for, being able to feel equal and respectful of everyone at the end of the day, it is a huge lesson for me to know that no matter where you go, it still should translate just as easily in any genre and in any form, to be able to at the end of the day be shake hands and give a hug and say thank you for the opportunity. This was a learning experience in and of itself, but also, and now I have equal respect for you because I just met you and I saw how you put your work out there. And it's great. It's great to see everyone's point of view on why they're here and why they put themselves in an industry that could have easily gone away or gotten bigger, and then has evolved. It's definitely evolved to have more than just one reason why it exists now. So learning that lesson and learning that everyone comes to the same place for the same reasons is a great thing to realize eventually.
Yeah. So what is your
Yeah.
reason for getting into the industry? Like, what is your main reason? Is it
At,
because was it like the money, or you thought it would be fun, or what kind of
at
drew
first,
you to it?
at first, I'd say the money was interesting because it was always, it wasn't always the same amount and it wasn't always the same work. But knowing that I somebody saw something in me that was worth paying and worth my time and their time to even offer to me was an interesting thing at first, because I always felt like I was the behind the scenes guy getting paid for doing different kind of work. But to be offered something and it be sincere and to be wanted or interested in, that definitely drew me to it. And I've always had this underlying feeling of being able to open myself up to new experiences. I've always liked that feeling of, well, I'll try it. If I don't like it, I don't have to do it again. But if I do like it, I'm going to keep doing it as long as I humanly can, because I enjoy it. So it probably was originally to help a friend out or help a fellow photographer out, or what have you, take a role that somebody else kind of canceled on or passed up on, and then the money was good. But then at the end of it, it made me feel more comfortable with myself, you know with certain other things, public speaking, or going to a crowded party when you have anxiety, or when you have certain things that draw you away from those because you just don't feel like you're ready for it, or you're just not that type of person.
Yeah.
I felt really good putting myself in a position that at first was slightly uncomfortable because it was new and different. And I was raised definitely in a more modest, traditional way, and putting myself in that position on purpose felt weird and great and different. And then eventually it became common, and even though I got used to it, I still to this day enjoy it, because I feel like there's more of me now than there used to be, because I opened myself up to the experience.
Huh. That's an interesting way to put it, that there's more of you to give because you like feel, is it because you like
Yeah,
feel more whole, like you just feel like you know
I just feel
yourself a
like
little bit
there's
better?
yeah. I wouldn't even say it's more whole. It's just more like it's like, I don't know, customizing a car or something. Like a car comes pretty basic on the lot, but then you can take it home and you can augment things about it, and yeah, at
Sure.
the end of it, you can zoop it up and all that. And I feel like by putting myself out in these different fields that I never would have put myself in 10 years ago, I feel like I've learned more and I am more, and I can create more and I can think outside the box more, and like I said, empathize more. And I just feel like more things grow in me, and no pun intended, but like I feel like there's plenty of things that I've learned, and I feel more, yeah, like you said, complete, but I just feel more in general. Like I feel like I've learned more and I have more to give.
Yeah, sure. And you mentioned that you grew up in kind of like a more conservative household.
Yeah.
I did too. And it's taken me a lot of like unlearning and like retraining of my brain
Hmm.
to stop feeling the shame that I once had. Like even now, like a lot of my family is on Facebook and Instagram, so I'll like post
Hmm.
like a like I yesterday posted like a nude photo, but it was like artistic, and I was a little worried because I was like, oh, my grandma's gonna see this, but then I was like, you know what?
Hmm.
I don't care. Like if she's gonna gonna judge that, then that's up to her. But it's something that I think is beautiful, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So I've kind of gotten past that a little bit, but it's taken some time, and just like relearning things in general and like retraining your brain in general, like
Oh
takes some
yeah,
time. But
retraining it for sure.
do you so one excuse me, one, did you like feel a lot of shame when you first started, and two, like how has it affected your relationship with like your parents and your close family to be in
I
the
do
adult film industry?
I do try to keep it a little bit separate from them, so I don't really like keep them in the full loop of what day to day or week to week I do. But they are informed on what I do, and they were open enough about it. Kind of at first saying like, why this, why not this, or you were already doing this, why did you change? And I go, I don't really feel like it's a change. It's more of it just feels like more opportunities. Like it's good to have if one door does close or even if that door stays open, it's nice to have other doors ready and available for you whenever the opportunity arises. But I lived in a conservative family where even getting a tattoo was grounds for disownment, or at least like
Same.
yeah, and
My
saying that
mom's
they'd
still mad at me
sandblasted
for all my
off of me or
tattoos.
something.
Yeah, no,
So
like my mom's probably watching, or she'll watch later, but I promised her when I was like 11 that I wouldn't get a tattoo, and when I got one, she was so mad, and I was like, "Mom, I was 11. Things change, okay?" And like to this day, every time I get a tattoo, she's like, "You got another tattoo." Like,
I
I mean, she'll always love me, but she still is like, yeah, is not into
Yeah. The
tattoos.
funny thing is, and maybe even the ironic part of it all, is that by accepting them more is when they allowed themselves to accept me more. And it wasn't so much, changing for them, but coming to them with an open mind and saying, I know this isn't what you like, and I know that's not what you would do, but I respect that you feel that way, and I hope you respect how I feel about which direction I'm going. Because once they found out I had tattoos, and once they found out that I was nude modeling, and then finally adult acting, it was they were already kind of ready for it in a general sense, not in a like very specific way, but they knew that since I respected their views on a love basis, that they could come back easily and comfortably on with love and say, not what I would do, but I commend you for putting yourself out there and going that direction. So
Yeah.
the more I gave them freedom to feel like themselves, the more they gave me the freedom. And I used to be very pushy and argumentative about my opinions on what they thought of me. And the less I pushed and the more I accepted them, they accepted me. And I felt like that was a big learning lesson too, was don't push so hard that you can't get back to that and learn something new or connect on a way that you hadn't connected before. So I'm not sure if that works for everybody, obviously, but it works so much for me that getting a new tattoo now, or showing them artistic nudes that I've taken with other models and stuff, they come with questions, and they come with uh gratitude and open mind, and they'll ask me more questions and go, what was it like, and what was this, and that's awesome, and this looks so cool, and I love how that photographer did it. But had I not showed them a little bit more respect for them, they probably would hate me for it, or they would have disowned me by now. And it's so weird that they like 180 flipped and now are way more accepting because of that reason.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
is there, it sounds like this obviously is a very personal journey that might be different for everybody. But it sounds like you have been able to handle the situation in a way that now your parents and other family members are curious and even welcoming of the kind of work that you do when they might have not been at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that this journey is different for everybody because obviously, everybody has different family members and situations.
Mm-hmm.
But is there any general advice that you have for people entering this kind of industry that have to face conservative parents who might not be accepting? Are there tips?
Well, Hiram,
Is
are
there
you thinking
something
about
you?
getting into the industry?
I hope it didn't sound like it because I'm not. But you know, maybe after today I'll know how to do it, and maybe that'll
maybe
be
you'll want
enough
to
of
have
a.
maybe Ryan will convince you. Who knows?
I mean, the the
That's
the
funny.
best advice I can give, because it works so well for me, and I think it does work for a lot of people I know. But I like I said, a lot of people do get in this industry for different reasons, probably to make tons of money and don't care about anything else. But also, there's so many, avenues to get yourself out there, and I think that for conservative families, it really is about you doing you. And I know that sounds very basic, but you really got to just hunker down, put 200% into what you
Yeah.
want, and not care so much about society's views, your friends' views, because the people that really love you and the people that really want to, root for you and be on your side would be on your side no matter what. So if they're not, you can still try and keep, every connection you have with them, but keeping them in the dark about certain things and not making it such a big deal for them sometimes is much better for you. Keeping it, this sometimes it's your own journey and you really don't have to bring anyone else into it. And if they don't accept it or if they don't care for it, then they don't have to, they can be a part of your life in every other way but that. But if it was something where you could at least start a conversation, definitely come at it with a neutral viewpoint of not trying to sway them one way or the other, because that's what they're going to try and do and be defensive. They'll try to change your mind and you're going to try and change theirs. But if you both can come to an understanding that both opinions could be correct for each individual person, but at the end of the day you respect and love the person anyway, and that kind of works for a lot of different things, for sexual orientation or being
Oh yeah.
non-binary. All of it
Yeah,
really
definitely.
is about
Are
trying to
you
respect.
non-binary?
I'm not non-binary, but I am bisexual, and that's always been uh a point of view that I had to hide for a long time from my father. At least my
Hmm.
mom was always like okay with it, but my dad always had a very strong opinion, which I think came from his parents.
Well, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
That
which,
that
yeah, it's
that
generational for
generation.
sure. But
Um,
I've definitely opened myself up more to my parents to know that they understand where I'm coming from, even on sexual orientation too, because I keep what matters to me and I keep what matters to them. And when you have a conversation about whatever, you just have to have the understanding that you might not agree at the end of the conversation, but you still know that you're connected to those people and you want to leave them with that knowledge. You go, I really respect that you feel that way. I don't think that works for me, but I want you to know that it doesn't change how I feel about you. And it really does like let them know that they can do that, that they can go, I don't agree with your decision, but I will still love you no matter what. And
sure.
I think that that really does matter, because it's hard to convince people of what's right and what's wrong because it's so opinionated. But if love can still triumph at the end of it, then I think it's worth it.
Yeah, and for me, like I feel like we're on the same like we have the same mindset when it comes to this topic, or not like the adult film industry, but just like being
Mm-hmm.
yourself and like and all what you were just talking about. Because I recently decided within the past couple of years that I was going to do the same thing. Like I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
be ashamed or afraid of what my family thinks. Like, of course, I'll think of them and I don't want to embarrass them or whatever, but like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And, and I'm not being rude about it, but I'm like, this is who I am. And
Yeah.
if you don't like it, that's too bad because this is who I am, and hopefully you can get past it so that you can be in my life. And some of my family members aren't in my life because I came out as, pansexual, non-binary, and all the other, like when I was live streaming the protests, I lost like some family members because of that. But I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I am happier just being who I am and doing what I want to do. And I'm not going to let you make me feel small because
Yeah.
you are uncomfortable. Like you're projecting this onto me, you're projecting your insecurities on me, and I am just not going to have that anymore. Like I have boundaries and I have self-respect. So I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
If
like,
you
you know what?
yeah.
I think also in doing that, you help people to become more open-minded because there have been people who have been in my life who are like hardcore Christians or just like very conservative who are still in my life, and now they're like, wow, okay, like I'm open to homosexuality. I'm
Mm-hmm.
open to like, fluidity in gender, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
open to activism. Like, I'm proud of you for fighting for your rights, and that's something that I was always against before. And some people are even like, I hate cops now after like following you and watching your live stream. So, like,
Yeah.
not only do I do it for myself, but I also do it for people, to help people to wake the fuck up and do what
Yeah.
makes them happy, and
The
not
thing
to
that
worry about
yeah.
like generational things that
The
hold them
things
back.
that really hold people back, and it's very, it's very lame to kind of say, but it's so true, is it's fear. And you hear it in movies and quotes all the time, but fear is the biggest part of why people don't agree on things. You look at adult films, and if you boil it down, the old adult industry is two willing participants, or three or four, whatever the case
Or
may be,
10,
but it's,
whatever.
or 10, yeah, the orgies and all that. But it's always consensually open-minded, and everyone's agreed. People are signing paperwork and contracts, and they're getting STD tests, and everyone's like super on the up and up. It's even more safe than, one night stands and going to the clubs and going to bars. Like, there's so many opinions on it that are negative, or are based in fear, or uh, uneducated viewpoints. But you really have to go, it's just, the people that don't like it, or the people that are not connected to it, are usually scared of it or uneducated by it, and they have to have an opinion based off of somebody else's opinion, because it's safe and easy to just use whatever your parents told you or whatever society told you, and it makes it a grab all. You just kind of go, yep, I heard it's bad, somebody made a joke about it, and it's all bad and taboo, and you shouldn't
Hmm.
talk about it. Even watching it's bad. And now we kind of live in this new day and age where even talking about it kind of isn't that taboo anymore. You go, yeah, you hear people on podcasts or YouTube videos, and they're talking about their experiences, first time with porn, and the first time they had an orgasm was to porn. And that kind of feels like you're kind of
Oh,
lowering the walls. You're kind
yeah.
of like making it simple. You're making it way more attainable for everyone to understand, and not so, out in the ether, and it's confusing and too grandiose, and people don't get it because it's so far away from the normal life. And it's like, that is normal life. It's been, pornography and adult entertainment has been around for centuries, if not 1,000 years or more. So it's not
Yeah,
new.
and it's
And it
funny
used
how
to not even
like
be taboo
yeah, and it's funny
back
how like
then.
these people who are like, wow, I'm so like maybe for you people who are like, oh wow, I'm so ashamed that you're in this industry, and you're like, well, do you watch porn?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how
Like,
can
you can't be
you?
ashamed, but also be a part of it on,
Yeah, if you're
at
watching
home.
it, you're a part of it. Like you
But that's
are
where the shame
supporting
comes
the
from.
industry.
It's like, I don't want to tell people because they might have an opinion of me, but it's like, if we all just were honest and open about it more easily, no one would really care at the end of the day. And that's how we are now with a lot of subject matter. There used to be things that you couldn't talk about homosexuality in school, and it's still, it's still hard to get passed and get people to totally agree on it in every state. But it's so much easier to come out now than it's been in the last 70, 80 years of this country. Thousands of years and hundreds of years for different countries as well. But we definitely, once we start opening dialogue and start being honest about what we think and how we feel, whether it's one way or the other, the more you educate yourself, the more or the less you're scared, and the more you accept. Whether it's accepting it fully or accepting that it exists or accepting that it's a part of reality and it's part of society. You don't have to be a part of it, but you have to at least acknowledge that it exists in a way that you can't stop and you shouldn't be stopping it, because at the end of the day, no one's getting hurt by a lot of the things people are scared of. And it's so weird to me that the
Yeah.
things that
Like
people
people are
are
afraid of
scared of
things, but it's
aren't
like not
hurting
hurting
people.
anybody.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think that, some people are hurt by this industry, and this is something that I've heard of a little bit just in, I have some sex worker friends who not only do, who are not only a part of the adult film industry, but also are strippers, and whatever else. And they've said that, it can be dangerous, or like people can be pushy, or like sometimes if they work for like a big like production company or something, they'll get pushed into doing things that they feel uncomfortable doing,
Mm-hmm.
and don't get, yeah, and all that
That
stuff. So
I
do you have any
totally, yeah.
experiences like that you've learned
I
from, or
I
has it been
actually
pretty
have
smooth?
personal experiences with that, and I know people that have personal experiences with that. So yeah, just like anything else,
There's
there
always a
is a
dark
true
side.
dark. There's always a dark side to almost anything. But this definitely has its own dark side too, just like Harvey Weinstein has one in the regular movie industry.
Hmm.
It only gets exacerbated by the adult industry because it has an implication of already being sexual, so you kind of can't push people easily or easier to agree to things, because you can convince them, well, you're already doing this, why can't you do this, or you did this last time, why can't you do it now, or I want you to do this because you said you would earlier. And there's 1,000 different ways that could go. And yes, sex work, adult work, stripping, any kind of industry where you are getting sexualized can really, there are people that will try to bank on that and will really try to manipulate that because it's easy for them, or they find an easy way. And that's the hard thing to navigate, because you really want to find the people that will raise you up and glow you up and like make you stronger than you were going into it. But there's plenty of people that will use it against you, all your insecurities, and try to knock you down and put you in a box that doesn't really, that you don't fit in, but sometimes you don't feel like you can get out of it either.
Hmm.
So, and I know I'm being kind of general, but when I first started modeling, just nude modeling, I was getting inquiries from certain photographers, and it would be pretty simple, just like, hey, I want to work here, I want to let's set up a time and a day, here's the rate. And I'd meet up and have a normal conversation, get to work, just posing, everything else. And then at the end of it, it would turn into, hey, for a little extra money, would you do this like off camera, or would you do this for me? Like, I really like that you're kind of attractive and you have this look that I just can't like get out of my head. And it'd be male photographers and sometimes female photographers, but mostly male photographers. And I think that they just use that medium as an easy way to get what they want. Sometimes they're not even really photographers, or they pretend to be, and it's hard to navigate. And you have to say no multiple times. And even when you're saying no, you feel bad because you don't really know, like, you kind of get their intentions, but then you kind of feel like, well, I already said yes to these things and I've done adult work. Like, why do I want to make them feel bad? And then you get stuck in your head. You get stuck thinking that you're letting someone down. And then you really have to start learning what it really means to say no and why you're saying no. And it's much bigger than just you. It's for the industry. The more you say no, the more they won't ask anymore, and the more they learn their lessons, the more you
Jake,
put
we
them
love
in their
you.
place
Have a good
and
night. Get
kind of
some
tell
good
them off. It scares them
rest. We love
into
you. Have a good night.
going back into the right direction again. And I think that that's a big thing, is to put people back on a good path, or the right path, or a comfortable path, and not just canceling them and trying to get them fired or anything, but also trying to get them to relearn their bad behaviors, because I wouldn't even know what the percentage is, but it's definitely unsafe, especially for female performers and sex workers, more than anyone. But it's out there, and we got to work on that just as much as any other industry.
So you've experienced it as a man as well, or
Yeah,
and not but not as much as you think that your like female
I definitely
coworkers or
think
whatever you call them.
I definitely yeah, I definitely think female workers definitely get it more, and I think that's kind of a general idea of what we think most women kind of go through in a office building or in the regular Hollywood entertainment industry, the music industry. You know, being sexualized is definitely more something men tend to do towards women in general. So it kind of translates more when men in power or men in a position of paying or giving you an opportunity. They just use it to their advantage because it's so easy. It's like, if I just gave you this money, why don't you do it? And if you don't do it, I'm going to make sure you don't. I'll tell my other photographers or my other videographers just not to work with you because you're difficult. And it's that simple to cancel someone out of the rest of their career because you didn't say yes.
Sounds like men are trash.
I
I
mean,
was gonna say that,
I
but
I
I didn't
mean,
want to
it definitely
trying to
is
take the
true.
stigma out of things, not
Yeah, I try to make it seem like, it definitely is that, but it's so much more nuanced too. It's definitely where they're coming from and who raised them and why they're like that, who hurt them, why they hurt people. It goes so many different directions because it's hard to just say this sucks and that they suck, because then what do you solve? But also you got to get them out of there too, because they're only making life hard for the people that are really trying too. So it's hard to know, like, if you just cancel and get rid of them, or do you cancel and educate them, or do you educate them and still give them more shots? It's hard because I feel like everyone's individually going to learn differently. And I definitely think some people do learn from just being completely canceled and coming back 10 years later with a better mindset. And then some other people just go off for 6 months and go to an education class and really understand how to respect another person. I've always thought that we should have had a respect 101 class in our elementary schools or high schools. Like, the
yeah,
class literally is about respecting people.
there's a lot that we're missing. Like there
Yeah.
should be a special class for men, like how to
Yep.
treat women and
Yeah. How to treat
femmes.
people. Like, men disrespect
Yeah.
men too. It's like, it sucks.
Yeah, like honestly, the only time that I've ever been like, well, 99.99% of the time that I've been like disrespected or like somebody's like grabbed my ass or boobs or something, been disrespectful in that sense, it's been men. Like,
Yeah.
I think I've only had two women in my whole life, like, do something like that. I'm not sure what it is, but I think it's just like ingrained in our society. But
Yeah.
that's a whole other
Yeah.
episode, I
Yeah.
think. We'll just talk
Yeah.
about
It's
misogyny.
definitely like a part two.
Yeah, we'll have a whole
But
episode on that.
I will say on this, as a side note, I have not experienced it much after I started feeling more confident in myself to
Yeah, I'm sure
put my foot
they can sense
down.
that. I'm sure they could sense that
Yeah,
too. They're like, okay, this person's not putting up with any
yeah.
BS.
People don't like people that are hard to manipulate. Like, if you come in knowing that you are confident and strong and willing to do what you need to do and not take shit from people that you know are going to give you shit, it kind of just scares the people in power to be like, not worth it. That's too much work. I'm going to keep looking for somebody else.
Gonna find some
And
low
if
hanging
more
fruit.
people, yeah, exactly. It's all about low hanging fruit and who can you manipulate easily. Because if you
Yeah, and
can't
that's
manipulate, then what are you really getting from, the power trip anyway? It's a huge power trip.
yeah, and I think it's a lot easier usually for younger models and actresses coming into the industry to be taken advantage of course. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so they, that I'm sure that's a thing, right?
Yeah, it's definitely grooming to be like, oh, you're 18, you're finally old enough to do any of that, any of it, any modeling, any adult work. You're free to do whatever, but you're still 18 and just barely understanding the world that you live in. Let me manipulate it immediately, so that you
So
don't
your
even know
boundaries
what's
are already pushed. So your boundaries are
yeah,
out
like
here
we
to
are.
start off with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's get you comfortable with the wrong things first, so that when it finally comes out that these aren't the boundaries you should have, they should be way stronger and way bigger. You don't know the difference, so you're going to do anything anyway, and your anxiety and depression that comes with it is just a part of it now, and it's a developed problems. and inherently it does need to change. But like I said, I'm not experiencing it as much anymore. First off, because I think being a guy, I don't get it as much. But secondly, the more I'm confident, more I'm enjoying myself and having like that confidence in the moment all the time, and people see that, they're like, you know what? This is about having fun. This is about creating art. This is about getting the job done. This is a work uh, position at the end of the day. Let's actually get back to being professionals and like doing that. And I feel like I get that way more now than I used to. And I don't know if that comes with age or experience, or people are evolving and changing and being a little bit more educated, but I do feel it less and less. And I talk to some of the women during, before, and after shooting with them, and they seem to be way more confident too. And I think that that helps. But I really don't know where that comes from sometimes. I know where mine comes from, but I don't know where theirs does. So it definitely, you can have it one way or another, but it feels like it is changing, just like the taboos, the power plays are changing too.
Yeah.
Ryan, I have to ask, do you have any like hot takes or any like I guess unique perspectives about the field that you would like
Are
to
you saying
share?
dirty secrets?
No, 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 not at all.
No, I
Actually,
said
quite
hot
the
takes.
opposite.
I mean, I like this job a lot more than I even did when I first started, because now I'm so comfortable with it that it's, you ever worked a job that was kind of like your high school job or your first 20s college job, and once you work there for 3 or 6 months or a year, you just kind of got that confidence that you're top of the list. You have control over things, even if it's like a restaurant and you're like, oh, I can get you a free meal. Let me just comp that. And you kind of get a confidence about you. I feel like now that I'm in this industry long enough, I feel like I don't have to waste time pretending to be insecure or pretending to be non insecure. And I just come in making jokes and, walking around naked and not even wearing like a robe anymore. And a lot of people are like, hell yeah, keep it going. Like as long as you're happy and we're happy, let's just keep like the energy going of positivity and keeping it light and keeping things like, even though it's work, make it fun too. And the thing is, it didn't used to be that way. It used to be like, okay, wait in the green room. When they call you out, you have to wear a robe, and like when they say action, you have to be ready. But now it's a little bit more lax, where it's like when you're ready. Like, we're not going to force you to be this way, and if you need a break, take breaks, and if you need a moment because this is overwhelming, for the scene, take the time, and we'll talk to you about it. We'll talk the scene out again. And I feel like the more you talk about something, even in those little, like, the director comes over and goes, hey, I know this is a hard scene to do, or this take is going to be longer than the other ones. Are you going to be okay? Do you need water? And I think the more people like watch over you and the more you watch over them, it all goes much better for everyone. And at the end of the day, the product, which is the most important thing after being comfortable and being respected, is the product. So getting a good product after everything's said and done in the can is, the most important thing. So I think being comfortable and being respected is the reason why the product can be so good.
Yeah. Um, so I have a question that I thought Hiram was going to ask, but can you tell us like not a dirty secret about the industry, but like, like a secret that could help people who are new to the industry that they wouldn't be able to figure out until after some experience?
I wouldn't say it's so much secrets as it is just like not common knowledge, but you know when you're filming a scene, or when the scene takes both a female performer and a male performer, I, it really isn't just like, hey, we didn't meet yet and we don't know each other, but we're going to do the scene. It really is about connecting with that person. And then, you know sometimes, I'll film multiple scenes for different shoots in a day or a week. And as a guy, I get exhausted from those things, and recovery is a big part of it. So you have to take certain enhancing pills to kind of keep it going, and that's not something that everyone has to do. And so there is that thing where not everyone thinks that that's what's going on. There is a lot of work aspect. It's people really think it's about like, oh, it's so sexy and so hot, but it's a lot of different takes. It's a lot of resetting and staying in that right mindset, because you can lose it too, and then people are like waiting on you or you're waiting on her. She's worn out and everyone's heavy breathing. So it's not so much a secret, but it's like I want to tear down the wall of people believing that it's really just about being hardcore into sex, and it's all about just getting people off. Sometimes it really is about inspiring a moment or creating something new for other people to connect with. Because there's actually part of my work is about helping certain disabled people enjoy themselves when they can enjoy themselves in person. So they ask for custom work to receive so they can watch at home and enjoy themselves in the way that they want to when they can't, a quadriplegic couldn't in real life, but they can view something that they custom requested. And then that you're doing something to help a certain community kind of bring them into the fold as well, because not every adult film was always uh, tailored for a certain type of person. Some of it was just open ended, like, hey, yeah, you're gonna have to look this up, and there it is, and you're gonna have to deal with it. It's definitely gotten more broad for everyone, and I think being inclusive is a huge deal. Changing it up so that people, every type of person feels included at the end of the day, because not being included really does change your perspective on what an industry really is. And the entertainment industry is like that right now. More inclusion is making more people feel accepted and feeling like they exist, and that's a huge thing too.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times people, because I always wondered like why people like paid for OnlyFans or why people like pay for strip clubs. It's like they
Mm-hmm.
want to feel like they're wanted. They want to feel like they're needed. That's like a big part of it, I think too. Um,
Definitely, yeah.
and on a different note, or kind of anyway, you were talking about how you connect with the person who are you're like making a film with or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you how do you like separate that from your real life? Like, is it like you're like, okay, this is my work life, and or like do you kind of like compartmentalize it, or is it just like how d- can you tell us a little bit about that?
I would say that I'm pretty self-aware of who I am and what I do. So I think compartmentalizing is a big part of how I get through anything in my life, and definitely in the adult industry. I work is work. When I go to work, I take it fully seriously, even if I'm joking around with people and we're having a fun time. But we're getting the shit done, and we're doing it right, and everyone's happy by the end of it. But I do, once I'm done, I kind of leave it there and then go back to my regular life, and not really make it a big deal after that. Like, I won't talk to people about it. I'll say, yeah, I was working today, and they're like, oh yeah, did you make a film? I go, yep. It only was like a 3 hour thing, and it worked out really well, and everybody was happy by the end of it. But I don't usually like go, yeah, I got to tell you everything, and it's got to be, I got to relive it again for you guys. If they ask and they want to be like educated by what happened, then I will. But when I go home alone and I don't really think about it afterward, I go, that was work. It was, when you get off a job, you don't really think about work anymore unless you're stressed out about it. You want to, watch a show or have dinner or go out with friends, and you kind of want to make it your, uh, separated for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know
Um,
if that's what everybody does. Some people just like keep going forever. They
Yeah,
try
I
to get
feel
as
like
much work as possible.
I feel like the other way of doing it is like, just including it in your life and being like, I enjoy doing this, so this is like a part of me. Like I'm not like putting it like this in like a I used to do that like when I was live streaming the protest. I was like, okay, this is at home me and this is protest me, and then it really like they really went two separate ways, and
Right.
it really messed with my head. So like getting back to who I really am, but I was like a different person after that. But in a good way. So I
I do know.
personally like when I do things that are like out of character or like for work that I wouldn't just do for fun. I get or you know what I mean, that I'm just doing for work. I feel like it's still just like a part of me, and I'm just like going with the flow, and I'm just more open
Yeah,
to it. But I
I
think that there are different ways of kind of managing that, you know?
Yeah, I feel like the only reason that I do it the way that I go that direction is because I really don't want to be pigeonholed for that work itself and be like, "Hey, you're the adult film guy." I really want to be like, "I'm this guy, so many different things, but also I do adult films and I'm good at it, or I'm good enough that people want me back and other people want me based off my other work." I'm not sure if that's how everybody really wants to be viewed, because there's plenty of people that use Instagram and OnlyFans and Twitter, and they really want to kind of keep their persona up. They want to be like, I do this all the time. When I'm home, I'm taking sexy photos. When I'm at work, I'm making videos and I'm, making adult films and I'm promoting it on all my platforms. People really do kind of go, yeah, full head into it. And that's good for them too, because you're going to get a lot more work that way. They're going to know that you're so work oriented that you're never going to stop. So that whenever they want you or whenever they hire you, you're going to be ready and you're going to be, exactly what they want. And sometimes I wouldn't say I've missed out on work, but I've definitely turned down work just because I'm like, I already worked a couple days this week. I'm exhausted. I know somebody, but I don't think I can do it. And it really depends on the person, because I don't think I got into this wanting to make a full crazy career out of it. It was just one of those things that I enjoyed, and I'll take the work if it comes, and I enjoy it when I'm in the middle of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are getting to the end of our show. I have one more question that I want to ask. Hiram, I'm
Shoot.
sure, has a bunch of questions too. But before
Always.
yeah, we could literally talk for hours.
Yeah.
At least me, like I can just like, and I talk about this on my other show, Off the Cuff with Des and Zane. Check that out on Spotify too. Um, shameless. Yeah, I'm just gonna do all the shout outs right now. Before I ask that question, actually, um, make sure that you follow us on Instagram, Base Podcast, and I would shout out your Ryan. I would shout out your socials, but you want to stay anonymous, so
Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is. And Carissa does on all platforms. Make sure you follow and subscribe on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook so that you can, stay up to date on like what we're doing in our future shows and all that. Hiram.
Yeah, no, you can find me as Hiram Gilberto, which is my middle name, Gilberto.
Or Gilberto
But
for people who are white. Or people like me who don't speak Spanish, I guess.
But we really appreciate you, Ryan. I know that it takes a lot to talk about something that's still taboo in our society. I mean, to this day, you have a lot of folks, like we've talked about, who are conservative or have a certain set of values that really don't align very well with these emerging industries that are, getting more and more complicated every day, because now, there's a whole online aspect to it. Maybe in the 80s, this was more of a magazine photo type situation, but now with the
Mm-hmm.
internet and everything, it gets more and more complicated, and I think in that sense more and more difficult to navigate. But I appreciate everything you taught us. I really took a lot from, your experiences in the field, the advice that you've given. So if I'm ever doing stuff, just like you are, Ryan, I'm feeling just a little bit better and a little bit more prepared, and I feel a little bit more cultured too overall. So again,
Awesome. I'm
thank you
glad.
so
I
much for.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity.
yeah, thank you for coming on. And even if Hiram doesn't get into the adult film industry, he at least is more open-minded to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Same with
That's what
me.
I
Same
hope
with
that
me.
everyone takes away, is opening their minds. That's my big takeaway.
Yeah. I had one last question. Hopefully, it's not like doesn't like segue into a bunch of stuff, I guess. But
I'll try to
I
keep
was
it.
just gonna ask, like, have you ever had to deal with like creepy photographers, and how do you deal with it?
I mean, I have definitely worked with creepy photographers. It'll be one way or the other. It'll be certain phrases get said that just come off odd, or it'll be getting into my personal space when they know most people know better, or like they'll touch you when they're like asking to move a part of you like a foot or a hand, but then they kind of get a
When they
little
don't
bit
need
more
to touch you,
handsy
yeah.
when they don't need to. They could just say something. And all the way to just plain out asking to do stuff with them that is completely not in the realm of what the work was entailing, and it just turns into completely overstepping their boundaries and my boundaries and society's boundaries. And
Do
the
not
best way to
cross
deal,
society's boundaries, because
yes, yeah,
you'll
certain
get
certain
karma,
boundaries
okay?
just yeah. But the only way that I found to really deal with it is match their energy, but the opposite. Like match it back. Like if they want something with a little bit of aggression, meet them with that aggression back and say, no, that's not even close to what I wanted to do, and that we never discussed that. I don't know why you would want to even suggest that. And it kind of puts them in a precarious position of, oh, I didn't know that they would answer that way. I
It makes
feel
them
a
look
little
stupid.
embarrassed. Yeah, it makes them embarrassed and a little bit more questioning. Should I have asked that, or am I just kind of in my own thoughts? And I should have just kept that in my mind. Like I have no problem with anyone thinking certain thoughts about me. That's their brain. I can't stop them from thinking, but they definitely should be watching out for their actions. And if you just kind of give them a little bit of a jab verbally, they usually
Or
take it.
physically.
Yeah. I mean, if it comes down to it, definitely physically too,
No.
because it depends on how pushy they get. But I've just defend yourself, verbally, physically. Phone calls, anything else that you need to do. Be there. Don't let it happen. It's not your fault that it's happening, but it might start to get in that realm of you should do something about it, because that person's obviously not going to stop until you do. So just be very aware of defending yourself, your honor and your integrity and your morals when you feel that they're being questioned, because that's really important. And it stops them
Just
from
holding
doing
those
it next time too.
boundaries. Yeah, like
Yeah.
knowing your boundaries. That's the first
Yeah.
step, is
Knowing your
knowing what
boundaries
they
and being
are. Like
confident with your boundaries.
you can't hold your, and this is something that I learned just in regular life, is I learned that I didn't have like very strong boundaries, so I didn't know what I wanted or where my boundaries were. But like if you don't have those, then people can push the little
Yeah.
boundaries that you have.
I'm
So
not,
just
I'm
like
not,
being
yeah,
strong in
I'm
your
definitely
values,
not.
being like have like a base, and like having like strict boundaries is super
Yeah.
important.
Totally, because the more you have strict boundaries and the more they're apparent and obvious, the more the other person won't question them, and the other person will respect them because they're so clear cut in front of them. And again, it's never that person's fault, but the more you're clear on something, the more that you can make it clear for them that it won't happen and it's not going to happen, and it should never happen again,
Not gonna
because you've
happen.
yeah, not gonna happen. So that's how my take on it, and it's
All right.
always worked for me. So I hope that helps for anybody that doesn't feel like they know where to go with that.
Yeah, for sure. Hiram, do you have one last question for
No,
Ryan?
I don't. Not at the moment,
Gonna do
but
the sweet
thank you
nothings?
again. Sweet
You got
nothings.
sweet nothings? He always says sweet
I
nothings at the
mean,
end of our episodes.
yeah.
Also, I want to
Love
shout
it.
out to Buzzball, our unofficial sponsor. Maybe they'll sponsor us. I listen. The only one of the only podcasts that I listen to is. Do you guys know who Workaholics is? Or that
Oh
show,
yeah.
not who they is, but
Yeah.
the show. You know what the show is? Yeah, they have a podcast called "This Is Important," and they're trying to get a sponsorship for Buzzballs too. And they're actually
Nice.
the reason why I'm trying them today, because they were talking about how they're women owned. So I
Oh,
was like,
nice.
all right.
Yeah. Keep the
Are
Uh,
promotion going.
are they
I
good?
did mix some coffee in with it, because it was pretty strong, and I like did the 75 hard challenge, and I haven't really drank much since then, so I like drank half of the ball, and I was kind of buzzing, so I had to add some coffee to it. It's an espresso.
Nice.
It's a espresso martini. Anyway,
Sounds like a
Oh,
good
nice.
promo. I like that.
Interesting.
it's good.
Now I want
Uh,
one.
well, again, thank you so much for joining us, guys. I hope you've learned a lot. Ryan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're gonna take these lessons of life and hopefully apply them.
Yeah, apply them to
In
everything in your life, not just work, but personal life and family life. All of it. It really does work that way if
Hmm.
you open yourself up to it.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
absolutely. Well,
you seem very wise, and we really appreciate
Well, thanks.
what you had to teach us and in the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate the questions because it really helps me, give the right answers that I feel that I live, and I want to definitely educate if I can.
Definitely.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Have a good
Yeah.
night, guys. We'll
Good
All
see
right.
night.
you
Thank.
around
This has been
at
another
the.
episode. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just say we'll
At the
see
where?
you the next time.
Yeah, we'll
I don't
see
know
you
what I
next
was.
week. This is Base with Des and Hiram. I am Carissa Des. Hiram's microphone went out, I think. Hiram, your microphone's
And
out.
I'm Hiram. Yeah, I'm
Let's
back.
redo that. This is Base with Des and Hiram. This is Carissa Des.
And I'm Hiram.
And this has been our guest, Ryan. We've been talking about the adult film industry. It's been a super interesting conversation. We are live. We are planning on being live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. We will do our best, but we're busy bitches. So yeah. Anyway, peace, love, donuts, everybody. Have a great night.